The first time Ethan Hale saw her, she was standing outside the glass tower of Hale Tech, drenched in rain, clutching a stack of resumes that had already begun to dissolve. People streamed past her, employees in sharp suits, interns in bright badges, yet not one person stopped. But Ethan did. He didn't know why. Maybe it was the way her shoulders trembled but her chin stayed lifted. Maybe it was how her eyes, tired and desperate, still held a quiet dignity. Or maybe it was the simple truth he never admitted: he was lonely, far lonelier than a man with billions should ever be. Her name was Mara Ellis, and she had nothing. No job. No apartment. Only an overdue rent notice, a mother in a nursing home she could barely afford, and a heart that life had beaten but never broken. And Ethan. He had everything, except love. So he made her an offer that changed both their lives. He asked her to be his temporary girlfriend. Not for romance. Not for companionship. But because he needed someone real, someone untouched by wealth, to stand by his side for a critical investor's retreat where his competitors would be circling like hawks. Mara hesitated, confused. Ethan simply said, "You'll be helping me more than you realize. And I'll make sure you're safe, and paid." Paid. The word tasted like shame to her. But her mother needed medicine. The eviction notice was 3 days away. She whispered yes. The dinner that changed everything. The deal was simple. Smile. Stay by his side. Say nothing personal. But at the private investor dinner, where the richest people in the city gathered, everything fell apart. Mara sat between Ethan and a group of CEOs who sized her up with subtle smirks. She felt their eyes on her cheap borrowed dress, her trembling hands, her silence. One of them, a woman with diamonds brighter than her personality, leaned forward. "So, Mara, what exactly do you do?" Ethan froze. This question wasn't part of the plan. Mara opened her mouth, ready to lie, ready to pretend she was someone else, someone rich, polished, worthy of their attention. But then she saw the mocking tilt of the woman's head. The way a few men exchanged amused glances. The small, cruel smirk on another woman's face. She couldn't lie. Not tonight. Not for them. So she told the truth. "I'm unemployed. I've been looking for work, but it's been hard. My mother is sick, and I've been taking care of her while trying to make ends meet. I'm here because someone believed in me when no one else did." The room fell silent. Ethan stared at her, shocked, not because she told the truth, but because of how she said it. Her voice didn't shake. Her honesty didn't sound like weakness. It sounded like courage. Then she continued, her eyes lifting, her heart unclenching. "I may not have wealth or a fancy job title, but I've learned that character isn't measured by what you own. It's measured by what you survive. And I'm still standing." Silence. Then, something unbelievable. The same investors who smirked moments earlier suddenly leaned in, listening. A few nodded. One man cleared his throat and said, "I respect that." Ethan felt his chest tighten. Pride. Real pride. The kind he hadn't felt for anyone in years. That night, everything changed. The aftermath, and the truth about Ethan. When the dinner ended, Ethan drove her home but didn't start the car right away. The night hung heavy between them. "Mara," he whispered, "you didn't have to do that." "I know," she said softly. "But I couldn't pretend to be someone I wasn't." He turned to her, eyes glowing with something rare, something unguarded. "You don't understand. Tonight, you saved me." What she didn't know was this. Ethan's investors had been losing faith in him after a scandal created by his competitors. They believed he was out of touch with real people, too privileged, too distant from the world he was trying to innovate for. But her speech, raw, honest, beautifully human, reminded them of the mission Ethan once held, to build technology that helped ordinary people. She didn't just sit at that dinner. She helped rebuild his credibility. She helped restore his purpose. And she didn't even know it. The challenges they faced. But feelings weren't part of the contract. And complicated emotions began to rise. Challenge 1, Mara's shame. She felt unworthy of standing beside a man like Ethan. Not because of money, but because everyone whispered she was paid, and the word stung like salt. Challenge 2, Ethan's fear of losing her. He wanted to help her, give her a job, a home, stability. But he feared she'd think it was pity. Challenge 3, the media storm. When a photo of them leaked with the caption, "Tech billionaire's paid girlfriend," Mara became the target of online trolls. She tried to leave. But Ethan stopped her. Not with money. Not with demands. But with words he'd never said to anyone. "Mara. I hired a stranger. But I'm fighting to keep the woman I've grown to care for." The moment everything turned. 2 days later, Ethan brought Mara to the nursing home to visit her mother. He didn't wear a suit or bring bodyguards. He came alone, holding flowers, carrying groceries, doing everything quietly and humbly. Mara watched him kneel beside her mother, smiling gently, speaking with warmth that no amount of money could fake. Her mother whispered to her later, "He looks at you like you're the one saving him." And something inside Mara finally shifted. She realized he wasn't just a contract. He wasn't just a paycheck. He was a man who had been lonely for far too long, until her voice at that dinner reminded him of humanity, hope, and heart. The resolution, a real love begins. Ethan ended the contract himself. But not to let her go. He ended it so he could say the next words honestly, without obligation, without money between them. "Mara. I don't want to hire you anymore. I want to choose you." Her eyes filled with tears. "Are you sure?" she whispered. He nodded. "You didn't just stand by my side. You rebuilt my heart. I don't want a temporary partner. I want something real." And for the first time in a long time, Mara felt seen, not as a poor woman, not as a hired date, but as someone worthy of love. The message. Love doesn't begin with perfection. It begins with honesty. And sometimes, the most broken people are the ones who heal us the most. Ethan found humanity. Mara found dignity. And together, they found a love that no contract could ever create. The morning after Ethan ended the contract, Mara woke up with a strange flutter in her chest. For the first time in months, she didn't feel fear pressing on her ribs. She didn't wake wondering if today would bring another eviction notice or another rejection. Instead, she woke up replaying Ethan's words. "I want to choose you." She repeated them silently like a secret she wasn't sure she was allowed to keep. But peace never stays long in the life of someone who has suffered too much. As she stepped outside her small rented room, her phone buzzed with a message from Ethan. "Breakfast. I want to see you." 3 simple words. Yet they made her heart race. She typed back a yes, though her fingers trembled, and headed toward the cafe he chose. But when she arrived, she wasn't prepared for what she saw. There he was, the guarded billionaire everyone feared to approach, sitting at a corner table with 2 mugs of coffee, looking nervous. Nervous. A billionaire, waiting for her. But as she walked to him, she didn't notice the group of women whispering nearby, their eyes sharp, their phones raised just a little too casually. Trouble was already brewing. The breakfast that revealed everything. Ethan stood the moment she approached. He pulled out her chair in a gesture so gentle it almost broke her. "You don't have to do that," she whispered. "I know," he replied. "I want to." She had never heard those words directed at her before. They ate slowly, talking about simple things, her mother, his childhood, the foods he hated, the tiny dreams she hid from the world. Then Ethan asked a question that stopped her breath. "Mara, what do you want now? For your life, I mean." She looked down at her mug, fingers wrapping around the warm ceramic. "I want to feel like I belong somewhere," she said softly. "Like I'm not fighting alone." He reached across the table, not touching her hand, but close enough for her to feel his warmth. "You're not alone anymore." But just as her heart began to settle into the promise of those words, 3 women walked past their table. One of them muttered deliberately loud, "Look at her. First she gets paid to pretend, and now she's acting like she's part of his world." Another whispered, "He'll get tired of charity cases soon." Mara's stomach tightened. Her hands pulled away. Ethan's jaw clenched, but before he could speak, Mara stood up. "Can we leave?" she whispered. He nodded instantly. But the damage was already forming cracks inside her heart. Challenge 4, Mara's past returns. When Ethan dropped her home, they lingered outside her door. Mara wanted to say goodbye gently, but before she could speak, a tall, rough-faced man appeared at the end of the hallway. Mara. Her body froze. Ethan instinctively stepped closer to her. The man approached with a cold smirk. Running around with rich men now. Did you forget you still owe me? Ethan's eyes sharpened. Who is he? Mara's voice cracked. He's my ex-landlord. The man crossed his arms. You think just because you moved out, your debts disappeared? Last month's rent, late fees, and the borrowed advances. I want it back. All of it. Mara stepped back as if slapped. I don't have that money anymore. Ethan moved in front of her. How much does she owe? Mara grabbed his sleeve. Ethan, don't. But the landlord sneered, a man like you can afford it. Ethan's voice turned cold as steel. This is between you and her. Watch your tone. The landlord spat, fine. But she has 7 days. After that, I'll make sure every person in this city knows she's a liar and a thief. Mara's shoulders collapsed. The moment the man left, she turned to Ethan with tears burning her eyes. This is why you shouldn't be with someone like me. My past will ruin you. But Ethan shook his head. Mara, your past doesn't scare me. You don't understand. People will drag you down because of me. Then let them try, he said calmly. I don't protect you because you're fragile. I protect you because you matter. Her tears finally fell. Ethan makes a choice. That night, Ethan didn't return to his penthouse. He stayed outside her door for hours, sitting on the cold floor, thinking about every hardship she had endured, every fear she tried to hide. He made a decision. If he wanted her in his life, he had to do more than take her to dinners and whisper comforting words. He had to fight with her, not just for her. And that meant facing her past, and his own fears. The next morning, he knocked gently on her door. Mara, he said softly, I'm going to help you. Not because I think you need saving. But because everyone needs someone to stand with them. She opened the door slowly, eyes red, voice shaking. You don't owe me anything. He held her gaze. I don't owe you. I choose you. Her breath caught. For the first time in her life, someone wasn't helping her out of pity. Someone wasn't leaving. Someone wasn't lying. For the first time, someone stayed. But a new threat was coming. Neither of them knew that the landlord wasn't the only one watching. Across the hallway, a woman lowered her phone after recording the entire confrontation. A woman who worked for one of Ethan's competitors, someone eager to twist the story into a scandal. Within days, the entire city would be talking. And the price of love would become higher than either of them expected.